Hi, this is Saraswati Sarkar, and you're watching The Times of India Now. Today, we are going to talk about something that students and their families think long and hard about. Yes, we are talking about studying abroad. Studying abroad is a decision that's not only crucial for a student's educational quality, but also for crucial future goals and life goals. We all know that UK, US, Canada are the most popular study abroad destinations for students all over the world, including India. However, of late, we have seen that destinations like Australia, New Zealand, and Germany are becoming promising alternatives to Indian students in particular. So, what is making Australia such a popular destination among Indian students? Well, the reasons are more than one. In our discussion today, the spotlight will be on Australia and how students can navigate their educational journey in Australia through the years. Joining us for this very important conversation is Dr. Amrita Das, the founder director of the Institute for Career Studies. A trailblazer in education, she has spent her life shaping futures and helping students and aspirants unlock their potential. For her work, she has earned very many accolades, including TCS Women's Achievers Award and more. Dr. Das, we are thrilled to have you here today with us.
Thank you so much, Saraswati. I'm delighted to be with you and with Education Times TOI Digital. Such an honor and privilege.
Let's start with a very basic question. Over the past 5 years, there has been a significant increase in the percentage of international students from India. The uptick is close to 52.2%, according to the data of Education Ministry. What, according to you, are the driving factors behind this surge?
That's a very good question because there has been a substantial increase. We did a survey with 15,000 students across 225 schools and came across the following points as the major reason. The most important was easier access to world renowned global campuses which offer a wide variety of courses. Though it's expensive, they can get bank loans and they apply for scholarships. They can also earn while they learn. So they can offset the expenses through a number of means. Secondly, they are very eager to get global exposure with which we get global cultural and global literacy. Employability skills develop, like cognitive skills, critical thinking skills, excellent communication skills, tech skills, entrepreneurship, and so on. So they have many more opportunities for that. Research opportunities. So we have very quickly moved from STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, to STEAM, where the A is arts, and STREAM, where the R is research. So those who have research experience get a competitive edge when it comes to jobs. Post study work visas, especially in countries like Canada and UK, and countries which give PR after post study work visas like Canada, had become very popular destinations because students looked at studying abroad sometimes as a pathway to settle abroad. So, this was what we did, this ICS impact survey, and these are our findings about why so many students and their parents aspire to go abroad, because similar opportunities in top campuses in India are highly competitive. It's relatively easier for students, say with 85% marks and a fairly good SAT score, to get top universities abroad. Many don't require SAT or ACT, they do require TOEFL or IELTS. So students have easier access to top quality institutions abroad compared to those in India.
Oh, this was quite new for me. I mean, I never knew that Indian institutes have a higher demand for scores, like exam scores. That is really
Absolutely, yes.
enlightening for us.
And also,
Okay.
you have, for instance, many universities have brought in QET as an examination. That requires a lot of preparation, much more as compared to scholastic aptitude test or ACT. So they find that along with their board preparation, it's much easier to prepare for entry into a top campus abroad.
Understood. Understood. So now moving a little away from strict the strict regime of academia, let's take a look at the global political landscape, which is continuously evolving with countries adjusting their immigration policies, their visa rules. For instance, recent policies in the US have made it very difficult for international students to keep a feeling of insecurity and uncertainty at bay. Also, diplomatic tensions between India and Canada have raised tensions for Indian students, specifically from Punjab, regarding their study plans over there. How should students factor in these geopolitical shifts when selecting a study abroad destination?
It is very, very important to factor in safety, security, and well being, because when we go to study abroad, we can only thrive in an environment which is safe and secure, and where we are able to continue with our preparation and our studies in the best possible way. So, because of the geopolitical shifts and the policy aspects which are contraindicative to safety and security, especially in US and Canada, many students who had got admissions have decided not to go. Others who are planning to go have decided to look at other options. So there are many more alternative popular options, and of late, Europe is trending for and Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Netherlands, Finland, and an absolutely new popular destination. Yes, people are going there, and an absolutely new popular destination which has just emerged in the last 2 years is Dubai. So Dubai has a
Oh,
number of world class global institutions establishing their presence there. Even top Indian institutions. For instance, in Dubai, you have BITS Pilani, Dubai campus. Easier to get in there than the BITS campuses in India. Then you have Amity in Dubai, which is very, very good as a university. University of Birmingham, New York University in Abu Dhabi. So Dubai is safe. It's got top institutions from across the world establishing their campuses there. Best of all, students get excellent opportunities for internships leading to great jobs. So it's education which makes them future ready for jobs. Along with that, I would recommend that while we have plan A and B, we should not overlook India. There's a sea change happening in the higher education space in India with top Indian universities improving on their course offerings, private universities coming up which are world class, equal to the best in the world. And we also have universities like Southampton University establishing itself. It's the first foreign university to have the permission by the government of India to set up a campus in Gurgaon. And when we look at the possibilities of collaborations with foreign universities, and we are talking about Australia, Australia may not yet have a standalone campus in India, but there are
no, but Daikin
450
University.
collaborations.
I think there's an Indian campus of Daikin University in Gujarat, Gift City.
That's getting a lot of great campuses. Yes. So the Git City is making it possible for students to get world class education at their doorstep, and it is cost effective. Also, through these universities, there are opportunities to study some years in India and some years in the parent university in the country of that university. So they get that global exposure which is necessary as well. So there are a lot of twinning arrangements which is ideal in a globalized scenario, because you get the best of India and you get to experience the best of what is available beyond India globally.
Right. So the Study in India initiative of the Indian government is
Yes,
also playing a crucial role in giving Indian students the global exposure at home as well, right?
it's a wonderful initiative, and I think many more universities from across the world will establish their campuses in Gift City as well as NCR and other areas. So this is going to be a huge advantage for Indian students. In fact, they'll be spoiled for choice.
Good to hear that. Very, very optimistic. Yeah. So, moving on to our next question. Financial considerations are of paramount importance for students. In Australia, for example, the tuition average tuition costs would be around 9,000 AUD to 50,000 AUD, depending on the course and the tenure. So, and also there are other considerations among students, like, in the UK, there was a drop of around 23% of Indian enrollment after they barred foreign postgraduates from bringing their family to the UK. Beyond tuition, what key aspects, both financial and non financial, should students consider while choosing their study abroad destinations? Also, could you share some effective strategies for managing expenses?
I think this is so important because ultimately finances have to be looked at. Budgets have to be planned in advance before students even go there. So, yes, tuition expenses are very, very high, and so also the living expenses. So, students should apply to universities which have scholarships and grants and which also provide loans. So, one very important aspect is scholarships, grants, and loans. Financial aid is another aspect which should be looked at. Indian banks provide loans as well if students get a confirmed admission to a renowned university. Now, when we look at Australia, students are allowed 48 hours of work per fortnight. So they have an opportunity to earn while they learn. And this is something that they should avail of. Students who are interested in research can get in touch with professors who have huge endowments for research and join their research team. And Indian students are very, very brilliant and they have proven their worth. So they have this opportunity of researching and earning for that research and also building their profile. Then it is important to budget well. Financial literacy is important. So don't take very expensive housing. See if you can initially live on campus where the housing is more reasonable. Entrepreneurial skills do help. For instance, if students have competencies in digital marketing or social media, developing creative posts, they can earn quite a bit on the side while engaging in these activities, which would definitely earn them money.
Understood. So, apart from these financial considerations, is there anything else that you would like to highlight that students should uh, factor in while choosing their study abroad destination?
So the other factors are looking at the top universities and looking at, for instance, if it's Australia, go for the top eight. And these among the best are University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, Australian National University, Monash University, UNSW. So apply for the best. Try and be in a city because there are more jobs available in a city. Look for internships during the program. So these are some factors which would enhance employability throughout their studies in Australia.
Understood. So, another problem that every student almost faces is securing a student visa. This process has become more complex with many countries making their visa rule changes, raising visa fees. Like, for instance, Australia has raised its visa fees as well from 710 AUD to 1600 AUD. It's a 125% increase. How can students navigate these stricter visa regulations to enhance their chances of approval?
So I have found that of late, many parents have thought twice about securing this Australian visa and instead looking at other alternatives because high visa fees plus costs of tuition and living expenses all adds up. Having said that, it is essential to prepare the visa documents in advance, especially the financial documents. Many students have come to us. They did not get their visa in time to join this year's program because the financial documents of their parents were not as required by the visa authorities of Australia. So, the preparation of putting those documents in place should start way in advance. In fact, when the students start their application process, because they're likely to get in. Next, it's also advisable to consult a visa expert. So you have visa consultants, they look at your documents, they guide you. So consult a well known visa authority or advisor for the Australian visa. This is what I can say would lead to a smoother approach to getting your visa and getting it on time.
Approaching a standardized visa expert or a visa processing agency would be of paramount importance, right?
Great help, yes, because the visa expert would look at your documents and then advise what more needs to be done, what needs to be
Right.
updated, what's missing. So they're very particular about the documentation and the authenticity of the documentation.
So we are moving on to the next question. Preparing for any university, for that matter, like any international university, including the Australian universities as well, that the preparation requires standardized tests. Which tests are commonly required for Australia, and what scores should students aim at to enhance their chance of admission?
So all students going to study in Australia should have an English proficiency test. IELTS is the most in demand, and the other is TOEFL. So IELTS is most widely a- accepted, followed by TOEFL. Now, all universities don't require SAT and ACT. They just go by the students' academic performance. So every university has its own norms. However, I would suggest that if you do either SAT or ACT, it contributes to your overall profile of showing academic excellence. I would recommend SAT and ACT, even if it's not required, particularly if students are looking at going to the two top universities of University of Sydney and University of Melbourne or the Australian National University. Then various other specializations require their own unique tests. For example, I will read it out. For medical and health, you need UMAT, GAMSAT, or MCAT. So these are
Okay.
required for the medical field. For law, LSAT or ISAT. For veterinaries, for veterinarian courses, you need Casper's test. I think that sounds rather cute, doesn't it? The Casper's test.
Right, right, right.
As
Caspers, yeah.
these are some of the tests which are required, and students should prepare in advance, practice. When it comes to TOEFL and IELTS, it is very, very essential to practice reading, writing, listening, speaking. Take a
Right.
preparatory course if required and do a lot of practice tests. So, for students who come from English speaking schools, these tests are not difficult. They need practice, they need orientation. For those who are not from English speaking schools and backgrounds, they need to prepare well in advance. And I would say read, read, and read, speak, speak, and speak in the language, and that'll build up your skills.
So, as you were talking about students coming from an English speaking background, be it
Yes,
a country or a school, they are at an advantageous position. I mean, but there are a lot of students who do not have an English speaking background. Do you see many of them cracking these exams, or
they
it
do.
is
See,
almost
basically, if
almost
you're
impossible for
passionate,
them?
It is not almost impossible because they are passionate about studying abroad and acquiring a great qualification. So if they start well in advance, for example, they start from grade 8 onwards, gradually the proficiency builds up. So I would suggest start early and go to language speaking classes, practice online as well. So it's not difficult. Where there's a will, there's a way. I would also suggest watch good, informative documentaries in English, good films in English. It gives you a sense of how to use the words in the right context. So, for those who are not familiar with English, starting earlier is important.
What would be an ideal IELTS score to enhance the chances of admission? Is it
And
8 or something with an overall
no,
score
so
of 8?
I'll tell you, an ideal, most would accept 8. Most would accept,
8.
so yeah, but
8 is the highest.
7.5, between 7.5 and 8 is accepted. So 8 is ideal, but a bandwidth of 7.5 to 8, 8.5 would be fantastic. And for an IELTS, it's an online test. So I have come across students from non English speaking backgrounds who started from grade 7 or 8 onwards, and they, through the English language classes, could cross 100, get 105 on 120. So practice makes perfect. And I would recommend for some that TOEFL may be easier than IELTS. So for those who don't have an English speaking background, I would recommend TOEFL.
That's a great insight, and that's a great suggestion for our viewers and audience.
Yes.
TOEFL is an easier option than IELTS. Great
Yes.
to hear that. Yeah. Okay. So, beyond tuition, living expenses in Australia can be substantial, with the average ranging around 30,000 AUD, right?
Yes.
How can students budget effectively for tuition and living expenses to ensure financial stability during their studies?
So, as I had mentioned earlier, earn while they learn is important. They have opportunities to work 48 hours in a fortnight.
In
Apply your
Australia,
in Australia. Apply your
right?
entrepreneurial skills. Take up, let us say, assignments which are online, which can be across the world. So you could be a great person doing digital marketing. You could be developing posts for social media. These are highly paid. So I would recommend entrepreneurial, I would say, activities as well. And of course, definitely at the outset, apply for scholarships, financial aid, apply for
Okay,
loans from Indian banks. So these are some opportunities. Budget well. Don't overspend. Don't splurge. Remember, you've gone there to study, not to have a lot of, good times which are very expensive. Have a good time, but remain within a budget. So financial literacy and budgeting is very, very important. The housing you should choose is well in advance, because when you choose in advance, very, very reasonable housing is available on campus. If you do it last minute, the housing on campus is full. So you have to look for housing outside, and that's very expensive. So these are some of the tips.
right. On housing campus is a very important tip for students. And
Yes.
how, when you say you have to look for these on campus housing options well in advance, how advanced? Like, if there is a time frame that they should look at.
There is a time frame when the students apply. That is the time they can also look at housing and apply for housing as well.
I mean, even before getting the admission.
They can look at it, and the moment they get their admission, they have shortlisted something and they shoot
Oh,
off that particular email
like that.
and
Yeah,
complete that particular form.
understood. Understood. So, which Australian universities or fields of study are the most popular among Indian students?
The most popular among Indian students are the University of Sydney, University of Melbourne. They're safe cities. They have a lot of industry and commercial organizations where students get very good jobs. Australian National University in Canberra, the capital city, is also great. Monash in Melbourne, UNSW. There are some top universities located in cities where there are job opportunities. So, students during their course of studies should avail of the 48 hours per fortnight so that they can understand what the work environment in Australia is, learn to navigate the nuances of it, become proficient, pick up the employability skills. So, I would recommend that joining a lot of opportunities that they would get, availing of those opportunities of internships would be very, very useful.
Understood. But in terms of fields of study, what are the most popular ones?
The most popular fields of study are the latest in engineering technology, for instance, AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud computing, then banking and finance. Sydney
Okay.
requires a lot of people who are proficient in this particular field, and here, knowledge of fintech is important, finance and technology.
And tech, yeah.
Then psychology
This
is
is a
another major area.
multidisciplinary branch.
Pardon?
This is a multidisciplinary branch, right?
It is a multidisciplinary branch, so those who have done anything in business, finance, commerce, financial economics have good scope. Psychology is yet another field. So there's a
Oh,
huge demand for psychologists in schools, colleges, universities, and institutions. So psychology is one major area. The other would be teaching. There's a big demand for teachers. So these are some top fields, but anybody who is great at research, there are opportunities for research in sectors across education, science, technology, mathematics, and so on. Social
un-
sciences.
understood. Understood. Also, while choosing a university, what factors should students consider most?
While choosing a university, students should consider the course on offer. So it has to be the right course at the right campus. So choosing the right course would depend on one's aptitudes, interests, talents, aspirations. Choose courses which have the latest specializations factored in. Microsoft, in its study, The Future Computed, has clearly stated that every student to be successful in future and to have a well-paid job in future would have to combine technology with the liberal arts and social sciences. So everybody in engineering would have to have an understanding of liberal arts, and every student of liberal arts would have to understand technology. So going for the latest specializations, for interdisciplinary specializations, and universities which provide opportunities for placement, for internships. Those are the ones that students should opt for. And finally, look at the placement record of the university and where the students were placed. Were they placed in your particular field? Which fields are trending in a particular university? So you have to match a lot of things. You have to align your aptitudes, interests, talents, aspirations with the kind of job you want, and see if that particular university offers the courses, offers the internships and placements that would enable you to pass out successfully with a good, well paid job in hand.
Great, great, great to hear that. Many students hope to stay on in Australia after graduation. What do
Yes.
their post study? work opportunities look like in Australia?
There are multiple post study work opportunities. So, for example, students can apply for temporary graduate visa, which is called subclass 485, allowing for work for at least 2 years up to 6 years. So,
Right.
between 2 to 6 years. The PR pathways include employer sponsored visas, which is subclass 186, and skilled migration visas, which is subclass 189/190, based on Australia's point system. Here, they must register with a MARA agent, MARA agent, which is a
Okay.
migration agent registered authority. So registering
Oh,
with that would definitely help. Then for leveraging temporary graduate visa 485, work experience in occupations listed in the medium and long term strategic skills list is important. Now, I underscore this point, I emphasize it, that experience in occupations listed in the medium and long term skills, strategic skills list is important. And of course, improving your English proficiency is absolutely vital. Improve your English proficiency, and of course, have the requisite 21st century employability skills.
okay. So, how can they eventually transition to permanent residency? What are the pathways for that? And the best tips and strategies to ensure PR in Australia?
Getting PR in Australia would require you to have very successfully completed your work experience in Australia. So, that successful completion of work experience, and especially when the organization sponsors you, can lead to permanent residency, but it's not that easy. So, permanent residency has become more difficult now. That's what I would say. So, after working for 8 years, it is likely, but there's no surety of permanent residency.
So, it's getting tougher for Indian students and also not only Indian students, but international
Everybody,
students,
yes, it's
for
getting tough.
everybody too.
And
Now,
across the
and
world,
PR is,
it's
yeah,
getting
across the
tougher
world,
across
not
the
only in Australia. It's not only in Australia, but also elsewhere in the world. PR is becoming very, very tough, right?
Yes.
The living,
So,
so if not the
yes.
study abroad dreams, but the living abroad dreams are looking bleak and blurry at the moment across the
They
world.
are looking,
Would
especially
you, would you,
if Trump comes up with a policy and says you will get a green card if you put in $5 million. So how many people have $5 million? Young students don't
right,
have that. So I
right.
would say that, you know, excellence speaks, quality speaks. So if you bring in top notch professionalism to your field, and you have a proven track record of delivering excellence, you have great letters of recommendation and endorsement from places where you work, starting with your university, that would leverage your opportunity for permanent residency. Everybody is looking out for talent, and everybody is looking out for people who could contribute to the economy of that country. So if you're one of those and you can work towards it, be sure you will get permanent residency. Not only that, you would also be able to get citizenship.
Great, great. I've heard that certain courses like nursing and engineering offer better prospects for PR in Australia. Is that true?
Yes, presently there are certain areas in engineering, and for the next few years they will be trending, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud computing. These are some important ones. Space technology, robotics, these are trending presently, but things are going to change fast because within 5 years, 85% specializations that exists today won't exist then. There'll be 85% newer specializations. So we've got to continuously track the changes, have a growth mindset, be a lifelong learner, keep upskilling. So it has to be an ongoing, I would say, effort on our parts. We have to embrace the change, pivot fast, change tracks, be agile, develop adversity quotient. All this has become important. So I would suggest that track the changes, because what is expected is there'll be a point 5 to 10 years from now when we will reach singularity. Singularity is when artificial intelligence will overtake human intelligence. It'll have a super IQ. So then people or professions who understand the technology and can embrace it and can work in collaboration with AI agents will survive. They will continue to have jobs, they will be in demand. So AI will not take away that many jobs, but people with AI will take away jobs of those without AI. So these are the changes we need to expect. Alongside emotional quotient, social quotient, creative quotient is super important for success.
So I think you have already answered our last question. That is how to leverage that period of temporary work visa to boost the chances of permanent residency. You say that excellence is the only way to go about it. You have to deliver excellence to hope for permanent residency.
Deliver
And
excellence and also ensure that you're contributing to the economy.
right,
That is important.
contribute
That
to the
you're
economy of the country, including
yes,
Australia. Yeah.
yes.
Okay. It was really an enlightening session, and I'm sure our viewers and audience will not only benefit from the tips and suggestions that you have shared, but also gain insights into the long term future, into their long term future in Australia. Thanks a lot for your time and insights and wisdom. So there's one more thing for our audience. Uh, for more information about study abroad plans and uh, nuggets of information about Australia and other countries, you can visit the LinkedIn profile of Dr. Das.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Saraswati. It was great being with you, conversing with you.
Same
I
here,
hope the
same here.
students found this useful, and I'm
Yeah,
so happy. So, Times of India Education is, I'm thrilled, I'm delighted that Times of India Education is facilitating the best possible choices for students, informed decisions for students by providing all the requisite information.